Hello radio scanner fans. Well, many years ago, I think it was 1989, I purchased this, which is a Realistic Pro 2005, which has 400 channel memory. I seem to remember it cost £400. Well, it was certainly very expensive because I had to save up for it on a monthly basis and then eventually go in and collect it. And this was bought from my local Tandy store in a town called Havant in Hampshire, United Kingdom. I decided I wanted a proper serious scanner after messing around with a few handhelds, and this was certainly it. But this has been stored since around 2003 in the loft, in a box, but stored nonetheless. So I want to see if we can perhaps get it working and how it compares to a modern day scanner. There's no alpha tags or anything like that, you just got frequency readout. But they were something of a Rolls Royce of the scanner world. Now I looked inside because it has a battery backup, there's no EEPROM stuff these days. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. 1st of 2011, when that was due to expire, it was completely flat. It was a Tesco battery. So I have replaced the battery, but I want to open the case now and check all the capacitors, particularly around the power supply, to make sure there's no signs of swelling or any problems that may cause a danger to plugging this in, because it's been so long since it's been used. And while stored in a box, a loft is never a great environment to store a radio in. So let's get the lid off and see what's going on. Opening is quite easy. You have 4 screws on the back here. The top 2 release the top part and the bottom 2 release the bottom part. Very simple. And then you've got your BNC, your attenuator, audio for a tape recorder, extension speaker and external power supply. But anyway, nonetheless, let's get it open. Now once the screws are out, if I remember rightly, you slide that back and pivot it up. Oh, and we've got the little speaker attached in there, inside there as well. We'll just change the view on the camera. So here we are inside. These are the main smoothing capacitors by the look of it. No sign of swelling, so that's all very good. That one may be slightly. Quite what he does I don't know. I've unplugged the speaker, it very usefully just plugs in. Now over here we've got the main regulators. There's a 7805 here, so that produces a 5-volt rail, no doubt for all the computer control, and that looks just like a normal PNP or NPN chip for a bit of regulation. So I will check the voltages and see what they're coming up at. And there's a high wattage resistor up there on its own, so obviously something that gets warm. And we have a W02 type bridge rectifier here, so there's a separate circuit. I'm wondering what that does, well, unless it's the main rectifier for the whole lot. Right, so let's get the electric meter out and see what we've got in here. So picked up an earth on the chassis here, so we'll check out the 7805 first and see what it's doing. So we've got a perfect 5 volts there, look, no problem at all. And 12.2, probably unregulated, or is that the regulated? I don't know. Let's see what's on this other chip. 8.6, 7.93, and there's a 12.2, so that's producing a bit of regulation. Don't know what that resistor's doing. They're dropping the voltage there somehow. I think that's the driver for the display. Now, as I remember, the display was always quite dim on this. It's a blue display. We'll take a look at that. But anyway, everything looks okay there. So we'll move on and take the bottom cover off and have a look under there. So the bottom cover's off, and we can now see the connections to the transformer. Now here, it looks like in the past I've added a suppressor capacitor across the line, just to keep the noise out as much as possible. Let's have a feel, because it is plugged in with what we're running. There again, I'm sure that's the driver, that sort of transformer arrangement there for the display. Now, I've got some contact cleaner that I'm going to spray into these, which are the squelch and volume control and on-off switch, because there was a lot of scruffling noises when I turned it up and down. But other than a bit of dust, a few cobwebs and things like that, it's pretty clean on the inside. I'm really pleased with that. I've already cleaned the case before showing you. So let's give it a try. I've plugged in the, screwed in the original telescopic antenna. Quite surprised that I've still got that. Here we go, the first time this has been turned on in many a year. Let's see what happens. Ooh. Well, that sounds positive. Sound squelch, I can't even remember what that did. Dimmer. Well, display doesn't really need to be any dimmer, does it? That's a bit disappointing. Hold on a minute, let me change the angle of the camera, because I don't think you're even seeing this. Oh. Actually an airband frequency just broke through then. Yeah, the display's not great. You can see that's the dim setting and that's the normal setting, but there's not a lot of power to that. If I put my hands around it, it should be a nice blue backlight. Wow, two sides of air traffic control there, didn't expect that, just on the telescopic antenna. Yeah, display. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to see if there's a way to fix that. Perhaps something has dropped off, the voltage has dropped off, although I think those displays can fail. They're not LED, they're like a long thin display, a long thin light that goes behind the main display. And I think it might have passed its sell-by date. But nonetheless, let's try some more frequencies, see if I can remember how to program it. So what I've done, I've got my UBC 125XLT handheld scanner in to find a few frequencies, and that's Farnborough West that just came in on 125.250. Let us see if I can remember how to do it. Where's manual? There we go, manual. 01. That's it. Now we're cooking on gas. I've remembered how to do it. Now we enter the frequency. So let's try 125.250. Now, if I remember rightly, you have to set the delay. There's delay, and it's come up on the display there. And we'll program a few more in and then come back and see how it's functioning. Okay, I've programmed a few in. This is quite a weak station on 134975, but I can squelch it out now, it's improved. I've programmed 3 or 4 in, so let's just set it scanning. Getting some interference off the LED lighting that I've got around to light up for the camera. Let's lock that one out. So see it checks the entire. I mean, the reception's really good. That's just a telescopic aerial on the workbench with lots of interference around it. So I'm quite impressed. It don't sound too bad either. It's just that display. It does work. Quite amazing after that amount of time. Any right turn would be highly appreciated. Hey everyone, right, I've been doing a bit of research online and it seems that it is indeed an electroluminescent display lighter that goes behind the actual display, and that runs on a couple of 100 volts, and that's what that transformer I was pointing out at you is for. It helps step up the voltage from an oscillator. So the radio is working, but it is quite a teardown to replace that electroluminescent display. What I'm thinking is, I wonder if I can use LEDs and light tubes instead. Might be simpler and more long lasting. But I think really I'm just going to enjoy the fact that this radio still works. I'm going to plug it into the big antenna and see how it gets along. I hope this has been interesting to some of you to see one of these old radios working still, despite its age. I say, I'm sure I bought it in 1989, 1990 at the very latest, and that's a fair bit of time ago now. Anyway, all the best, and keep scanning. To add to this, after an hour or so of testing, I started to notice a mains hum, and noted that the top of the case was warm. I took the lid off again and found that the WO2 bridge rectifier was rather warm, so I'm guessing that one or more of the smoothing capacitors has gone sick and is overdriving the regulator circuit. I might need to replace a few capacitors fairly soon.